Hey, how's it going everyone, and welcome to my React 2022 going into 2023 crash course. In this course you will learn all the basics of React.js, which will set you up with the necessary knowledge to get started creating web application using the React framework. A few things about me: my name is Norbert BM. I'm a self-taught web developer, I'm a teacher, I teach courses on Udemy and Skillshare, where I create courses and distribute them on all the learning platforms. I also create a lot of tutorial videos and crash courses like this on YouTube, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also have a blog on norbertpm.com where I post all of the source code and also small blog posts that don't sadly make it to become video projects. Now about this course has two parts. A theoretical part, which will be this presentation, where I will tell you a couple of definitions, I will give you a couple of explanations, and also a couple of resources at the end of the presentation. So please stick around to the end of the presentation. You can also skip this part if you wish, which will bring us to the second part of this crash course, which will be me explaining React in a practical way, and that means we're going to build a project together. Now, this project will be a small web application. We're going to use Create React App, we're going to use React Router, we're going to use a bunch of stuff. So what will you learn by taking this crash course? Well, in this course, you will definitely learn what React is and why learn a JavaScript framework. I will also tell you how React works. We are not going to go too deep into that because this is only a crash course and we don't have a lot of time. And you will also learn what a SPA is, a single page application that is. Furthermore, you will also learn about what React components are, what are React hooks and how to use them, and how to install and run React and also create a application. As I said at the end of the crash course, we're going to jump into a project and create a completely working web application. The web application will be a workout app. It's going to have 2 pages or 2 separate modules and multiple components. We're also going to use React Router to create our navigation bar, to create links and nav links actually that will take us to different parts of the application. Now this application is actually part of a larger application which is in my React course. I didn't release that course yet, I'm still working on it, but I do want you to have a standalone working application. Now the application will be a simple workout planner. As you can see, you can select different days from Monday to Sunday and add multiple workouts to it. You can add a running workout, you can add a body workout, you can add distance that you want to run or time that you want to work out, and you can also choose the time that you want to start your workout. Now if you have too many, then you can delete one, or if you wish to add another one, then you also do so. So is there any prior knowledge required before starting this course? I would suggest that you have your basics done in HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I also have crash courses on all of them, so please check them out. The links should be down in the description below. You also should have Node.js, or not should, but must have Node.js and npm installed. If you don't have them, then please install them. If you don't know how to do that, I do have crash courses on all of them. They are really short videos on how to install Node.js and npm. Please check them out. They're down in the description below. Okay, so who is this course for? If you're asking yourself if this course is for you, then just ask yourself the following questions. Do you want to expand your knowledge base from vanilla JavaScript and vanilla web development technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to a more powerful one? Are you looking for a JavaScript framework, but you don't know which is the right one for you? Are you curious about what a JavaScript framework is, how it works, and why they are useful? Or is the React framework a popular or in-demand technology in your area? So if you can answer one or more questions from the above one with yes, then yes, this course is for you. So let's get started with the course. And let's get started first of all with explaining what is React. Now, by definition, React, also known as React.js or React.js, you can call it whatever you want, is a free open source front-end JavaScript library for building user interface based on UI components. Okay, so once more, it is a JavaScript library that helps you build front-end applications using components. So you heard me say library and you also heard me say framework. Now, React is commonly known as a framework and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it if you call it one. Although it does not come upon installation with all the features that, for example, AngularJS comes with. For example, the routing system and many more integrated components. Basically, a full-fledged framework like Angular does not compare to React, but React has the possibility using npm to install from its library, which is growing and growing and growing, all of these features. So it does not come pre-installed with all of the features, but you can add them to it. In other words, I would start with React to create smaller components, and if it grows into something larger, then you can just add more components throughout from your library to it. Okay, so if you're still confused, here's a simple way to understand what the React library actually does. By using the React library, you can easily create interactive single-page applications with the help of stateful components, like the one we're going to create later on in the course. So why learn React? And why not learn something like Angular or Vue.js? And personally, I would recommend to learn a bit of all of them, just for comparison reasons and also to understand other people's opinions and other people's views. But you do need to focus most of your energy on just one of them. Which brings me to my number one reason for learning React, and that is demand. If you're looking for a job or just want to freelance, it doesn't matter at all. My number one recommendation still is, for learning anything in the first place, is to ask yourself the question, does anyone need what you know or the skills that you have? Look around in your regional job market or in the place you want to move to and do a bit of research and search for the job requirements. If it is React, then please go ahead, learn React. And if it is something else, then by all means, learn something else. But demand dictates what you should bring to the market. There's nothing harder to sell than something that nobody is looking for to buy. Next would be popularity. React is the most popular JavaScript framework and is up there in the market alongside with Angular and Vue.js. Popularity not only means high demand, but also excellent documentation and support from the community. And community plays a huge role. In other words, if you have a problem, someone else out there already had the same problem that you had and probably solved it. So just Google it. This is what community is for. Now, my very last recommendation would be React also saves you time and money by reducing development time due to the fact that it is component based. You can break down an interface into reusable components that allow you to build dynamic user interfaces. Now, this taps into a current thinking behind design systems. So remember, if you have a technology that solves something quickly, then use it, because time does equal money. Okay, so I hope that by now I convinced you that React at least deserves to be given a chance. As I mentioned before, we use React to build single-page applications, aka SPAs. So first, let's understand what a SPA actually is. Now, a SPA, a single-page application, is a web application for websites. Now, a SPA, a single-page application, is a web application or website that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current web page with new data from the web server, instead of the default method of a web browser, which is constantly loading the entire new page. Now, as I said before, the goal here is faster transition to make the website feel more like an application. Now, React has its kind of own language, and that is JSX. In React, we write a combined language called JSX, but JSX is optional and not required to use React. Also, browsers cannot read JSX and it needs to be compiled. This is why it is then compiled into regular JavaScript using a compiler like, for example, Babel. Now, in JSX, you can use regular HTML tags, inline styles, and also JavaScript, which with some small differences, but more on this in the project. Now, let's talk about components. What are React components? Components in React are independent and reusable bits of code. So remember, bits of code are actually functions. I'm not going to teach you classes. I'm going to teach you functional components in this crash course. For me, classes are passé. Now, they serve the same purpose as JavaScript functions, but work in isolation and return actual HTML. Now, components come in two types. As I said, class components, which I'm not going to teach here, and functional components. Now, in this course, we will only use functional components with hooks. Hooks are something specific to functional components. And for me personally, classes are extremely off-putting due to their reference to this keyword. Now, components can refer to other components in their output, and we will also do that. We are going to create a component that is going to be pasted on the component. Components use props to send data up and down the application, which is extremely helpful, but don't worry for now about components. You will have a more deeper understanding about components and props as soon as we start with the actual project. Next, hooks. What are hooks in React and how to use them? React hooks are simple JavaScript functions that we can use to isolate the reusable part of a functional component. Hooks can be stateful and can manage side effects. Now, React provides a bunch of standard built-in hooks, like, for example, the useState hook, which we're also going to use in this course. This manages state, returns the stateful value, and a updated function to update the state. I'm going to talk more about this in depth in the project. Also, useEffect is another hook. This manages side effects and, like, for example, API calls, subscriptions, timers, mutations, and more. But once again, more about hooks in the project. Now, there are many more hooks, but these two are the most often used, and the rest of them are outside of the scope of this course, of this crash course, so I'm not going to refer to them. More about hooks, please check out my full course on React. Okay, furthermore, there are a couple of useful resources down in the description, so please check them out. I'm going to link up the Node.js and NPM for Windows and Mac installation. I'm going to link up JavaScript array methods, all the ES6 array methods, which you should know before starting React, or at least know about their existence and know what to search for. I also have a complete HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course, also down in the description below. A React Router crash course, which, because I'm not going to go too deep into React Router, I'm just going to use the routes. I do recommend that you check that out. So React Router crash course, also down in the description below. And we are going to use Visual Studio Code for this crash course as the code editor. So I have a completely free course down in the description below. Also, please check out that one. I will also link a link to the React website and the React Router website, and you can find more in-depth tutorials in my channel and on my blog. Now, with this being said, that's enough with the slides. Let's jump into the project. And the project, just a quick explanation, will look like this. We're going to have 2 pages. There's actually just 1 page, but we are going to create 2 pages. Now, up here, you will have your first component, which is going to be a navigational component. But the very first component that we're actually going to create will be the title component. So this right here is going to be a component. This is also a component. It's going to be a home screen component. And then the navigation will lead us to the next stage of the application, which is going to be the workout plan. Here you can then later on select multiple weeks. And now I'm actually going to show you the project. Okay, so this is going to be the project for our course. It's going to be a completely responsive web application. I'll just go really quickly through it. We're going to be greeted with a home screen. We're going to set here, if you want, the difficulty. We're going to start at 0. You can also see how this is going to modify depending on the timer here. If I'm going to go above 10, it's going to go to medium, and then above 20 is going to be a hard workout. Now, if I wish to start the workout, then I can click on Get Started. It's going to send me, you can see here up here, this just changed. I can go back and forward, or I can go from here, Get Started. It's going to send me to the workout plan. And the workout planner, I can choose a day. I can choose Monday, Wednesday. You can see also here this changing to depending on which day I'm choosing. Let's say I'm choosing Wednesday, and now I can add a workout. So if I'm adding a workout, I can add multiple workouts. If I were to delete the workouts, I can delete the workout. I can choose what kind of workout I wish to perform. Let's say I'm going to swim. I'm going to swim for 30 minutes. I'm going to start my swim at, right now at 5:32 p.m. Now I'm going to add another workout. Let's say after swimming, I want to take a bicycle tour. Let's say I'm going to go with 30 kilometers. And I'm going to start then the bicycle tour at 9 p.m. Why would you do a bicycle tour at 9 p.m.? Nevertheless, we want also to do a bag workout after we're done with 30 kilometers of bicycling, or you can change here, just type in miles. And let's say we're going to do a 10-minute bag workout, and we're going to start this at midnight, almost at midnight. Okay, so we're not crazy. We're not going to do a bag workout. We're going to delete this, and we're going to delete this and this, And that's basically it. This is the application. I do know that you are going to learn a lot of things from it. Now the other part does not work, as I said, and this is intentionally done. There's nothing here. As you can see, this is because of the routing system detecting there's nothing here. You can also see up here that nothing is reloading. The page isn't reloading when I'm changing something here. It's just adding different routes to our application. So I hope you're excited. If you are, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And with this being said, let's get started with our project. Alright, so before we get started with the project, I just want to cover two things. First of all, a complete project overview, kind of what we're going to tackle in this project, and then the project prerequisites, what you need before you get started with the project. So we're going to cover in this project how to install React. I'm going to show you how you exactly install React locally, not globally. I wouldn't recommend that. Then we're going to go to the React file and folder structure. I'm going to explain each thing, what they do and how you can delete them, how you can reinstall them, so on and so on. Then we're going to write a bit of JSX. I'm going to explain how JSX works, what's the difference between JSX and regular HTML, and so on and so on. Then we're going to jump into the project. We're going to create our very first homepage. I'm going to show you how to insert images in React. It's a bit different than using regular HTML. Then we're going to go over CSS and Bootstrap in React, and also going to go over how to create inline style, how to style using CSS variable, not CSS variables, but using variables, JavaScript variables. You can also create style snippets using JavaScript variables. You're going to create you're going to download your CSS files, and we're also going to use Bootstrap. We're going to not install, we're going to link up the CDN for Bootstrap in React. Now you can also install Bootstrap. That's why I just said install Bootstrap. If you want to do that, I do have a video explaining how you can do a Bootstrap installation into React. We're not going to do that. We're just going to link up the CDN. Okay, then we're going to start creating components. I'm also going to explain how components work and what are props. Then we're going to go into React icons. I'm going to show you where you can get your React icons, how to install it, and how to use React icons. So we're not going to use a icon system, for example, from Font Awesome. We're going to use that is already integrated in React. I just want to show you how this works. If you want to use them later on Font Awesome, then please feel free to do so. Then we're going to go into hooks. First hook is going to be useState, and then we're going to useEffect. Then we're going to go over the routing system, and more specifically, we're going to go over client routing. After that, we're going to create our own routes. We're going to create our workouts. We're going to create our different components for each of them, and then we're going to create unique IDs for each and every one of the workouts. And this is really important. We'll see it later on, because we're going to need those IDs in order to identify how we can create a new workout and how we can remove a workout that we no longer need, or we just made an error. And at the end, we're going to build our React application, and we're going to deploy it to a local hosting system, not a global. So nothing on the internet, because it can change. I don't want you to create some kind of stupid accounts anywhere. I'm just going to show you how you can create and host your React app on a local site, and then you can move on to something else if you wish. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the project. Hope you're excited. Now, a couple of things before we get started. I will use Visual Studio Code. Let me just toggle this up. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. If you don't have Visual Studio Code, if you're using something else, please feel free to do so. If you're using Visual Studio Code, or if you want to use Visual Studio Code, link is down in the description below how you can download it. And also, if you want a really quick overview about Visual Studio Code, then I have also a great introductory video about how to use Visual Studio Code. You do need to have Node.js installed and npm in order to run React. If you don't know how to do that, I have a video on that. If you do have them, I would recommend to have the latest version installed. So first things first, let me show you how you can, it says right here, toggle the terminal. You either go up and use the new terminal if you're on a Mac, or you can just hold down Control tilde or Command tilde on a PC, and this will toggle your terminal or your integrated terminal. Now I do use ZHS. You can also create multiple terminals, as you can see here. We will also create multiple terminals. When we're going to install something else, we're going to use a different terminal. Now from here, you can check if you have Node installed. Just type in node space -v, enter, and I'm using version 16.15.0. You can also check for npm, so npm -v, and I'm using version 8.5.5. So we have everything that we need in order to get started with the project, so I would suggest that we just get started. So let's get into it. Now you got everything up and running, you got Node, you got NPM, you got Visual Studio Code. Again, if you don't have the terminal opened, just Control tilde, they should open up the terminal, and within the terminal, you can also clear this, clear, it's gone. It's actually not gone, it's just a bit way down. So first things first, you will need a empty folder. You could also take a different path by open up your designated terminal. You can type in terminal, open up here the terminal. Whoa, this is extremely small, and choose your path. I'm on my MacBook. You can CD into stuff. I'm not going to go over how change directory and so on and so it works. Let's just stick to the terminal. Let's just stick to Visual Studio Code. Within here, you need a folder. As you can see, I already have a folder. I just created a folder on my desktop, drag and dropped it in here. It's called code, and there are now two possibilities. Let's start by installing React and creating our very first application. In order to create a React application, I type in npm, which will install React globally. I wouldn't recommend that. What you need to do is type in npx, then create -react -app. No capital letters, no spaces when you're creating React app, and also now space and comes the naming of the application. There are two possibilities here. You either give it a name, let's call this workout-app. When you're giving it a name, it needs to have only lowercase letters and no spaces. This is why I'm using dash. If you don't do this, it won't work. You're going to get an error. If you already created a folder, you can do it another way. You can create workout app on your desktop as a folder, drag and drop it into Visual Studio Code or open the folder, and instead of typing out the name, you can type in dot, just dot, but you will need to delete this, okay? So delete workout app. If you type in dot, then it will create your React application within that specific folder, so you don't have to give it a name. If you type out workout app, then it's going to create a workout folder, and it's going to create your application within that workout folder, okay? So you have typed this in. Now if you hit enter, then React, the installation will start soon. Okay, until this happens, because this is going to take a couple of seconds, or a couple of minutes even, let me just tell you what we're going to do here. You can only see the workout app has been just created. If I click in here, you will see folders and files starting to appear. Don't worry about them. We're going to go through each and every one of them in just a couple of moments. So first things first, you're now installing React locally. You're not installing it globally. This means each time you want to create a React application, you will need to go through this process. Now, a couple of things about the project. You will see the project having missing things. Now, this doesn't mean that the project does not work. It just means that this project is actually just a small portion of a more larger project from my Complete React course, where I'm taking you from a beginner. Basically, I'm taking you from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We're taking a project from that to a React-based project. So this is why the application looks a bit different. It really looks as you saw it in the presentation, but not everything works. You will only those parts that I show you will work. So no user login, no such things. Okay, you will also see, at least at my portion, sometimes you will see them appear green and red and so on and so on. This is because I'm using GitHub. Don't need GitHub. I'm just telling you that is why they will look different. You also saw just in a couple seconds ago, they were red. It just means a new file or folder was created. Okay, React has just been installed. Now there are two, actually there's one way to start the application. First, you need to go into your application. Basically, we are in code right now, in the code folder. You can see also here, code. Now we need to change directory in the terminal. The terminal needs to know where it is. We need to change the directory into our workout application. We can do that by typing in cd. This means change directory, space, and then if you just hit tab one time, you will already see your next folder. Now if you hit tab multiple times, then it will go through this folder and look for another folders. Let's just delete this, React app. If you have multiple folders in your hierarchy, if I close this up, if you have here multiple files or folder, then it will show them. But because we have only one folder, I'm just going to delete this very quickly. So space, if I type in W, hit tab, it's going to select that once again. If I type out workout app completely, it's going to also work. So if I now hit enter, you will see this code. Just a second. You will see we are now in workout app. So we're one folder down. Okay, we're now here. The terminal is looking here. Now you can use your npm start. This means that the application will start. Okay, this is using Node in order to start your application. So this will not use a right-click open with live server. We're going to use the integrated server for React. React has an integrated server. If I now hit enter, you will see just in a couple of seconds that the application will start. And there we go. This is actually what I just read. That presentation you just saw, you can download it down in the description below. Okay, and here is React. React just started on localhost 3000. This is the port. You saw normally if you open up, let me go just very quickly here into public, there's an index.html file. If I open this up in live server, then you will see this, nothing, absolutely nothing. But this is using your IP address, your local IP, and the port 5500, okay? Boom, I'm going to close this up. This is React. This is how React works. This is how React launches. This little folder, this little application here is actually what we have here. Now let me just resize this. I can actually close up this PDF. We no longer need it. Again, this is down in the description if you do need it later on. And I'm going to pull this to the right side, resize it a bit. I think this is perfect. So if this is too small, you can increase it. I am at 150% of the initial size. I have a too large resolution in order for you to see everything clearly. This is why I have the browser zoomed in. I am using Google Chrome. I would also suggest for this specific crash course to use Google Chrome because we are going to check out the components. And if you like to go and see the components, you can just go to inspect, and then you will see instead of the console, which you normally open up, you see down here components. And we have only one component, that is the app. Okay, now let's, whoops, that's not what I want to do. Let's close this one up and let's talk about the folder system, the file and folder system. Now we got our app up and running. Let's talk about the file and folder system. The first thing that you're going to notice here is this node modules folder. Now this contains all of the modules that React needs. You also see a TypeScript that React needs in order to work. Later on, where we're going to install a couple of different modules, they will also be installed in here and added to the package.json. I'm going to come back to the package.json file just in a couple of minutes. You can also see if I click here somewhere else that this is grayed out and everything else is actually, well, highlighted. This is because if you go to a git ignore file, which is automatically created, you will see here what are dependencies and what files will be ignored. Actually, everything that is in here will be ignored from being uploaded to GitHub. Okay, so node modules, the .npm, the PNP files, the coverage, the build, which we don't have. We need to create it then at the end of the project, the storages and so on and so on. Environmental files. Now you can also add here files that you wish to ignore. If I, for example, would add here another file or folder and I wish to ignore that, this is how we ignore folders, the / and dot is for specific files. Okay, so we just covered node modules, git ignore. Okay, now public. Public is very important. Actually, I'm going to close this up. Public is where you will find your index.html file. Now this index.html file is only for the creation part. So where we are in right now, we are in a development. So we're developing the application. If we then move from development to deployment, then we no longer need this index.html file. We will deploy something else. We will deploy the build. We'll see that later on. Now let's go really quickly over this file. This looks pretty similar to a regular index.html file. You will see here a lot of comments. You can actually delete them out. If you want, you can read them. Again, when you're creating the next application, you will see them again. This is basically the same thing over and over again each time you create a React app. So let's delete this. Let's also delete this comment and delete this comment. Perfect. Now this looks again like a regular HTML file. You can see now it's yellow and M. This means this file was modified, and this is why git length is, or my source control is now monitoring this. If it's not monitored in your installation, don't worry, you don't need it. So up here we have a pretty much regular HTML5 tag with meta tags, with links, with the title. You can change it right here. So let's call this workout app. And now you have, you need to enable scripts, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about this. And down here you have a div with the ID of root. So this is the most important part of this HTML file. This ID is the only thing that is targeted from React in order to inject the React code into your HTML file. Remember, web browsers can only read index.html files or HTML files, CSS files, and regular JavaScript files. They cannot read TypeScript files, they cannot read CSS files, nothing else except in these three. So when we're going to build the application, it's actually the entire React code using Babel will be converted to regular JavaScript. You will see that at the end. Also, you can see here this icons. This is this basically PNG. This is the larger version of it. Then you have this robots and so far and so on. It doesn't matter for us. But just know that we are actually targeting, so within this public folder, we are targeting this ID of root. Now let's jump down. Let me actually finish this. This README describes what React does. You can also see here the scripts, npm start in order to run it, npm test in order to test it, npm run build. We're going to run when we're going to run our application, eject if you wish to eject from the server. Also, if you wish to stop the server, I'm going to show you right now. Hold down Command and Control on a Mac and Command and actually also Control. So Control on a Mac and Control on a PC and press the key C. And now if I refresh this page, you'll see it's no longer working. Okay. Now, if I wish to restart my application, again, I just need to type in npm start and I need to be in the working folder. Okay, so in the application, npm start, hit enter, and just take a look up here, just in a couple of seconds, and boom, again, it's working, compiled successfully. You can now view your workout-app in the browser at localhost 300, okay, or this IP address and 300. So that's it for a README file. Now package.json. In the package.json, you will find everything that is installed, each package that is installed in your React app. You can see here the name, it's my workout application, the version. So this is not the React version, this is the application version. Okay, if you wish to update your application, then you will have a version 2.0 or something like that. It is private, set the two dependencies. These are the dependencies, the testing library, JSON, React, the React library, the React DOM. And now just a couple of words about React DOM. What you see here is the shadow DOM. We will access the shadow DOM later on. All the components are actually in the shadow DOM. You will never see components in your HTML file. Okay, the HTML file only reads HTML, and the browser only reads HTML files and will output HTML files and also HTML code. You will never see a component in there. This is why the extra tag, and also this is why this icon up here is yellow. React Developer Tools has access to the site, okay, because you're in development mode. Okay, websites, so far and so on. And also when we're going to install something new like React icons, you will see it up here. Here are your scripts. npm start was to start application. Npm run build will then be used to build the application, and so far. So you can take a look at this. Now this package log.json is almost the same thing. Again, it shows you the dependencies, it shows you your name, and so far and so on, the name of the application. Okay, now I'm going to close public, and now we're going to go into source, which is the most important one. Everything that you will do will happen in this source folder. Everything that's in the source folder will be read, compiled, and then exported to the public folder. Then when you build it, it's going to be exported to the build folder. So we have here setup test. We have here report websites. We have here logo. This is this logo using an SVG. We have our index.js and we have our index.css. We have our app.test.js. We have our app.js and we have our app.css. Now I'm going to tell you that you can delete the following files. You can delete setup, hold down Control or Command on a PC. You can also delete report websites. You can delete the logo. You can delete the index CSS and the app.test.js. So I'm going to delete them and the application will break and we're going to fix it now. Let's start with index.js. Index.js loads React and React DOM-client and the index CSS file that we're going to delete from here. Now, if you use the modules in JavaScript, then this should be familiar. You're importing different modules and you're importing them in your main JS file. We're not importing them, so we're no longer importing the index.js file. This is why I deleted it. We're also no longer importing report web vitals. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to delete this. And this is the clean version. And now let me explain how React works. You can see is this variable here, const root. So we're creating a variable. We're calling it root. We're getting it from the React DOM.create root. And we're getting them from the document get element by ID root, which is this one, index.html file root, boom. So when we're getting this ID, we're then using the .random method from React. Now this is all methods from the React library, and we're using strict mode. Not going to go into strict mode right now, so outside the scope of this tutorial. And we are using a component here. This is also two components. We are using a component called app. Now the app component is actually this app.js file, and it is imported here. This is very important. When you're using a component, you first need to import it, and you're telling it how it's named. You give it exactly the same name as you. This is again naming convention. All components are named with a capital letter, and then use camel case. Never use dashes and so forth and so on. And you're telling it where it is imported from. It is imported from the exactly same directory folder system. This is why it's using /app. Okay, so it's importing, and I'm going to go now to app this. So what is this? This is the application. You saw that we were importing a image. This is this right here, then some text, and then a link. Now, because this has some sort of styling, it's importing app.css. Basically this is just a regular CSS folder with some basic styling already applied. It has add keyframes, so an animation, and then it's applying that to everything that you just saw here. Now, once again, back to our app.js, and it's also importing a logo. Now, the logo was this logo as you just saw here. We're going to delete the app logo. We don't need it. We're going to leave this app CSS file for now. And now let's go down here. Everything in React is function-based, excepting when you're using classes, then it's class-based. We're not using classes, so this is why we are using functions. This function is called app, and it's exporting as default the app. This is why we can import it here as app. Okay, now when this component called the app is imported, it is actually using here, this is a placeholder for this function. What does this function do? This function returns, and it always returns one div or main or whatever. You can also use fragments. I'm going to show you fragments just in a couple of seconds. It is always exporting one single thing, and that single thing can then contain multiple HTML tags, functions, so far and so on. But I cannot add here. Actually, let me make this work. So I'm going to hit save again. Let's just see here, hit save, hit save. What are you still missing? Yep, it's missing this logo. So I'm going to delete this because this is now looking for something that does not exist. I'm going to delete this, and there we go. Our application is up and running again. I could actually, you know what? Logo. Oh yeah, I deleted it also there. So bye-bye. So application is again working. If I hit save, this will auto refresh. And now if I wish to change this code to Norbert BM, hit save, you will see here Norbert BM, just like that. Now we're actually going to delete everything that is in here and just have our div with the class of app. So we got for our system, we know each and every, we got our file and folder system, we know each and everything what it does. I think we can now move on to writing JSX code. Now, before we start writing JSX, let me show you an extension that's going to make your life much easier. Go to extensions and search for React, and there it is, ES7 Plus React Snippets. Now, I already have it installed. If you don't have it installed, then please install this extension. It's going to make your life much, much easier. Now, what this does is going to give you snippets. What are the snippets? You're going to just type in RFC. It's going to give you a component, a functional component that is, and so on and so on. So it's going to make your life much easier. Okay, let's go back to our Explorer. And now let's start by typing in here something. We're going to create a home page first of all. So let's go in here into this div. Again, you can please do not use more than one tag, one fragment, whatever. A fragment, let me just show you really quickly. A fragment looks like this. What's the easiest way to show you this? Let me inspect this. You will see there's in our body, there's this div root, and in this div root, there's a app inserted here. Okay, so div with a class of app. Now let me type in here a h1, and really quickly, if emmet does not show up for you, so if emmet does not work, then please go down here where it says JavaScript, click on it, and type in React, and we'll see JavaScript React JavaScript, and change this to JavaScript in React. And now if I type in h1, then emmet should work. Okay, so h1, I'm going to type in here the text of title, hit save, and we'll see here title appear, and also in your very first div, you will see a title appear. Now, if I would move this title outside, then we'll see the squiggly underline, and it's going to tell module failure because so on and so on, because we are returning more than one thing. Now, if I would move this back in, then this will work again. If I would also put it into one fragment, the fragment looks as following. Just take this, everything, and delete it, and just leave the opening and closing greater and less sign and the closing greater and less sign. And if you save it, in your DOM, you will not see it, but just so you know, you can type in here everything you want, paragraph, lorem, and it still works because you're only returning one thing. Now, fragments are, before React 16, you would really need to type out fragment. You can see it already recognized this. This is basically the same thing. It's already importing fragment. Fragment, opening and closing tag. Okay, it's basically does the same thing. If you look in here, you cannot see anything else except in the title, so the h1 and the paragraph tag. But you can see up here, fragment was imported from React. Do not need this. You also do not need this. If you only do this, this will be a fragment. But again, we're going to go back to our div with the, and now this is very important. You need to use class name instead of class when you're using classes. And we had here app. Now, if I would use class, take a look at what will happen. You're going to get here an error. If you go to the console, let's check out the console here. So console, invalid DOM property class. Did you mean class name at div at app? Okay, so it's telling you that at the app, so this file right here, at a div, so this right here, we have a naming convention error. Okay, so you need to use class name. So that's pretty much all the differences there is in JSX. There's also one more difference. You cannot use ref. You need to use from ref, but actually you will almost never use anchor tags. Okay, so we just typed in a title. Let's also give it a class name of, let's say, text purple. You will not see any changes because we didn't integrate anything in here. And now let's just type out a little bit of JSX in here. I'm going to delete this paragraph tag. I'm going to use here a header. Again, this works exactly like HTML. This header will later on have a class name, but we need to install Bootstrap for that. Then we're going to have an H2. It's going to be welcome to the, and then a H1 after that, work out app. Okay, and there we go. Now after this header, we're going to have a main. Again, I'm going to use Bootstrap later on in this, and so far and so on, but more about this later on. So as you can see, it's pretty simple, and we're going to learn more and more about JSX when we're going to start using functions and CSS just in a couple of seconds. So we know what, let's actually also import an image, and let me show you how images work. Now, images work a bit differently in JSX than in regular HTML. First things first, let's go to our source folder, create a new folder, and call it img for images. And within here, I'm going to just drag and drop. You can download this image, a PNG file. This is this lady right here doing a yoga pose. You can use whatever image you wish, but please take care that it has an empty background, okay? You can download this image, or you can search for one on the internet, whatever you wish. So using an image, In order to use an image, you need to first of all import it and assign it actually a variable name. So let's import the image up here, always above your function that you're returning. Let's say import, I'm going to call it home img, and we're going to import it from, this is a keyword, and now between two double quotation marks, we're going to type in the path. So images are within the same folder, / image folder, / and then the image name. So you need to type in home image and then the extension. This is really important. Please do not forget to type in the extension. Okay, let's hit save. Cannot resolve home image. This is because, yeah, just ignore that for now. And let's go into our main tag here and let's create a div with a class of column. And within here, we're going to use the image tag. And now for the source, we can delete these quotation marks, open and close curly brackets, and now use this variable in here. And I had a space here. This is the problem. Okay, so I had an extra space here. This is why this was not working. The naming convention does not have a space. So once again, image, source, home image. You can also type in an alternative image or home image, home img. And if the image would not show, so if I would comment this out, then yeah, no, there's no home image here. Or you could do something else. Actually, let me home img and delete this. Just add quotation marks exactly as in HTML, then the placeholder will show. But if I add the variable of home image, boom, there it is. Okay, so this is pretty much how you use images in, let me also close this one up. This is how you would use images in JSX and React. Okay, now we can move on actually to styling. So let's learn how to style in React. Now there are three, wait a second, there's inline style, there's CSS files, there's using variables. There's also one thing that we're not going to use is style components. I'm going to teach that in my React. It's a pretty long chapter. I don't want to get into that. You don't need it. Not everyone uses style components. It's a different library. You need to install it. And basically, it's only if you would use it. But for now, for a React crash course, we're going to use inline style. We're going to use a variable as a style. We're going to use your CSS file as a style. And we're also going to link up Bootstrap. So basically a CSS framework. You could also use Tailwind CSS if you wish so, or any other kind of framework. So let's get started with inline style. Now, if you wish to use inline style in React, for example, I'm going to go into the style, into H1, use the style tag, or style property, and you can see it already adds a bunch of curly brackets. Now, if you wish to use inline style, you need to add another pair of curly brackets, and now type in here color, for example, and column. Then within quotation marks, the string, because you're using now string, let's say purple. Okay, and there we go. The title is now purple. If you wish to add another property to this, then you need to do a comma. So basically, does this look familiar to you? You have two curly brackets using a name, semicolon, a string. Know what this is? This is an object. Now we could use a background. Sorry about that. So comma, background. And now for a background color, we need to use camel case, so color, okay? And I could use here even hexadecimal numbers of #333. Got it? Pretty simple. This is how you use inline style. Now, what you cannot do is use befores, afters, hover effects, so far and so on. For that, you need to use either CSS and just add here class, or use style components. Okay, now let's go to CSS. Oh no, let's first of all do in a variable. So let's say exactly what I did here, but I wish to use a variable. Now, when you're creating any kind of function or variable, then you need to create it within this function app. Okay, this, remember, returns everything that is in here. Now, above the return, I'm going to create now a let's say h1 style, and I'm going to assign this to an object, and this object will have a color, say red, and a background color of, let's say, blue. Something really awful. Okay, let's hit save. And now, instead of using this, I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to leave this in, comment it out, go underneath of it, type in style again, open and close. So just one time, open and close curly brackets, because we're now going to use this variable in here. And if I save it, you can see it is changing. Pretty simple. I created a variable, I assigned it to an object. This object has key value pairs of name and string. You can also use numbers. For example, if I would use a height of 100 or 10, let's say 100, okay, 100 pixels. I didn't define pixels, so if you want to define your pixels, you need to add it as a string. So this would be 200 pixels. You can see only then will it work. If I would do something like this, this would not work. Okay, but you can use 200 as a number if you wish. And here, and delete this, and there we go, the same thing. Okay, so inline style using double curly brackets, style using variables, and now let's get to CSS. I'm going to delete this, we don't need this. You know what? I need to leave it in here just for you to... Should I leave it in here? No, forget about it. Just remember we did this. And you could also use it in your own code. So CSS, if you go to a CSS file, you see here a bunch of CSS. If you take everything, delete it, hit save, you will see we have no more CSS. So let's do a Control Z. Let's go up to the app. You saw here that we have in our app.js, we have a div with a class name of app. So it has the app as a class name. If you go to your CSS, you will see this app here. And you'll see it has a, what the hell did I just do? It has a text align center. If I would do right, then everything's aligned to the right side. I'm going to comment this back out to center. If I do color red, it's CSS, okay? It's nothing new. It's regular CSS. This is a CSS file. It's regular CSS. So what I want you to do is go down in the description, find the CSS file that I created, and copy everything that is in that CSS file into your app. You can also create another CSS file, but I won't go into that right now. This is outside the scope. Okay, and now if you comment this in, I'm going to have everything commented out, I believe. App, CSS, node modules. What am I missing? Oh yeah, this. We don't need this. Also, you're going to have the working one within your code. So we have, you just copied in a bunch of CSS. You can see everything just changed. Now, if you will also take a look at this text purple class, it is actually in your CSS. If you look for .text and purple, you see it here. This is why this text is now purple and the background is grayed out, because the entire app, go now up to your app class, app, you see it has text align center, background color, DDD, a height of 100 viewport heights, and a margin of auto. Okay, so that's basically it. Working with CSS files, so I can close this up, I can close up the search. And now, very last thing, let's add Bootstrap to this. So if you would open up a new tab, search for Bootstrap, there we go, Bootstrap, and just go to the docs, readme docs, go down here. You know what, I'm actually going to decouple this because you need the CDN. So you can see up here, you have your CDN link. You also go down here and just copy the CSS CDN link. You don't need the JavaScript CDN link. We're not going to use that. And now, where to paste it? Well, we don't have here an HTML file where we can paste it. Should we paste it in here? No. We're going to go to public index.html and paste it in here. I'm actually using a link. So link tag, and as a reference, going to paste this in. And let me just test something here. Let's do a text left. Okay, let's do a, up here in the title, let's do a display -1. And okay, so Bootstrap is working. Let's also try BG danger and just changing it to red. So Bootstrap is working. We can now delete this. So pretty simple. This is how you would link up Bootstrap, and we're going to use a couple of Bootstrap classes. We're actually going to use a mixture here because I want you to have all the experience. So we're going to use inline styling, we're going to use variables as styling, we're going to use CSS. We already included our CSS in here, and I included this CSS in here because, well, it's part of my main course, and in the main course, I'm not using Bootstrap. I'm using only Bootstrap here because I want to show you how you can use the framework. And I'm not using Bootstrap in my course because I want it to be evergreen. So basically, if Bootstrap changes something, in your case, you would just need to change up the CDN. But in reality, much of the classes won't work and you would need to go back in there and all of the applications will be broken. So this is why I'm going to use the regular CSS in the main course. Okay, we're done with this part. I don't like you. There we go. we can now move on and create our very first component. Now, before we create our very first component, we need to create a place where we're going to create components. I'm going to close out this public. In your source folder, right click, create new folder. I'm going to call this components. And if I would type components correctly, then it will also show us that this is a component folder. Within here, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it, now because this is a component, remember, we're going to start with the capital letters, title, dot, you can name it JS or JSX as a extension. Now, if you type in JSX, then, and I hit enter, you will see down here that it is automatically typing JavaScript React as a language. Okay, so if you're just creating a regular JS file, then you will need to change it to JSX. So we have a component file created. Now, in order to create a component, functional components at least, are created exactly as you see here. It is a function that it's exporting as default, the function itself in our case. And let's just go back to our component. Now, there are two ways of creating functional component. And if you have your snippets installed, those ES7 snippets, then it's RFC. And now you can do a E. And you can see here on the right side in the library, it's going to import React from React. You actually don't need to do that. It's going to create a function. It's going to create a return. It's going to give you a div. And it's going to export it down in after the function. Now, if you only do an RFC, then it's going to export automatically that function. And we're going to, let's use an RFCE for now, just so you can see it. So the component that was created is named title. It's automatically named after the file. And it's exported down here. Again, the function returns only one element, and that is a div in our case. And it's also importing React, and because we are in React 18 right now, we don't need to import React anymore. So it's returning a title component. Now, how can we use components? If, for example, I'm going to go in our app.js, up here in imports, I'm going to import, and I'm going to import title, and hit enter because it just automatically recognizes it. But if it didn't, then we're going to import title from dot, so within our source folder / components folder, we're importing the title. It has no extension. It doesn't need to have any kind of extension, so we can import it this way. Now, if we want to use it, I'm going to go here where the title is an H1, and I'm going to type in open less than sign, then title, and then close it up. And as you can see, we have another title here. Now, because you don't need two titles, I'm going to take this H1, cut it out, hit save. We only have one title. Go back to our title and return it here. So basically, instead of this div, we'll have an H1, so far and so on. I'm going to return it here as a title. And there we go. We have our title back. So instead of having title here, typing out in our app, the H1, we're just going to use a component, a placeholder. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we using components? You will see later on, this is going to be so clean. It will always just import little components, and those components are then accessible in other situations. Now, components, I can recreate this component. I could just take this component and reuse it here 1,000 million times if I want. And if I would do, I'm also going to show you now something else. If I would change something when I'm importing this component, so right here, when I'm using the component, then only this component will change, not the entire component itself. So, for example, we're going to use now a bit of JSX to create here a if statement. So instead of this title, I'm going to pack this into curly brackets. And now I'm going to tell it that if there, also because we are now in here, we need to use a string, and now it's working again. So if we, let's say, have a title, oh, let's do it this way. If we have a text inserted here, then it should give us a title. So if you have a variable, if a variable of text exists, then it's going to give us title. Because it does not exist, it's not going to give us title. So let's see if we negate this. So if there is no text, then it should give us a title. And if there is some kind of text, then the text should be returned. So you see, we're missing this text right here, this variable. Now, these are what we call props. Basically, this component can now accept variables. So I'm going to pass this text up here, text, there we go, and use it in here. Now I could also assign it directly. Text is equal to, say, the string of my title. Now you can see that because there is a text, there is a text, it's exporting the text instead of title. And the title is now my title, or the text is now my title. Now if I remove this, then it just seems that it just looks for it as it exists, it isn't defined. So we're going to use the title and we're not going to export anything else. But now I can use this prop. If I go back to my app, I could use it. It's now a property, like here, like source is a property of image. I just created a brand new tag, and this brand new tag has now a property of text. And I can use this to pass in any kind of text. For I could example say here Norbert, and the very first component will now have the text of Norbert, and all the rest of them will have a text of title. I could use here again the property and type in here my title in a string, and boom, my title. Whoa, not title, my title, my title. Hit save, and there we go. There's my title. Now within these two curly brackets, you could also do, let's do another one. You could also do calculations. For example, because you can type in numbers, so it's 100. You could also do 100 plus 20, and it would be 120. Okay, so you can execute here any kind of JavaScript between those two curly brackets. Now let's use, that's it for now. Too many titles. This is going to be, what did I name this? It's actually going to be home. Let's hit save. So this is home. Now let's go back to our title. Let's also accept here a class as a variable. Now you already know how template string works. In order to use a template string, you're going to pack this into curly bracket. The class still works because it is within quotation marks. But now I could pass something different in here. Let's replace this, not with that, but with a template string. So I'm going to use backticks, and instead of this purple, I'm going to use here a variable. I'm going to call it color. Now I'm expecting a variable color here, so I'm going to pass it up here as a prop. Now I can go back to my app. You can see the color already disappeared, and I'm going to type in here as color. I'm going to type in the string of purple. Now you can see a bit of difference here. I used here curly brackets, and I use here just quotations without curly brackets. Now I could also do this, and it will still work because you're passing down the same thing. But if you wish to add multiple arguments to this property, then you would need to use curly brackets. If you're using a variable or you're using a function, then you need to use curly brackets because you're executing something in there. So let's go back to title. So once again, the text is going to be passed in here as a property or as a prop, and it's going to, in this case, use an if statement, or these are actually, you can actually use here if statement if you wish. This is just a short way of using if statements. And if you wish to use a color, then we're passing in here color, and it's looking for this class right here. Okay, let's move on and create another component. And this component will be our home component. So I'm going to create here new file and call this one home.jsx. In our home component, we are now going to move everything that is in this div, so even the title, we're going to move it to our home component. So we're going to cut everything out from here, move it to home using RFC this time, not RFCE. And we're going to actually paste everything in here, and we are going to delete this home and use a fragment. So this time we are going to use fragments, paste this in here. We don't need React. What we do need is to import title from title. Title is now in the same folder as components, so we don't need to change it. And we can now go back to our application, and within here, instead of title, we're going to import home from components and home. I'm just replacing it here, and I'm going to use it here as home, and you shouldn't see any kind of changes. So hit save, and home image is, yep, because the image, I'm going to delete it from here, go back to home and import home image from, and this is perfect because I now need to go up. So we're in components, so one level up, components / so one level up, images / home img.png, hit save, and there we go, this works again. Okay, so pretty easy. Now hit save here, everything is saved. If you make any kind of change, doing here a space, you will see that this has a white dot, means it is not saved. So please consider saving it always in order to not have any kind of errors. Okay, I'm going to close up this index tab. We don't need this. Going to close up this index. We have a title, and it's basically it for this component. We're not going to change everything, only when we're going to reuse it somewhere. We have a home component that now has the title. And now let's use a bit of Bootstrap on our header. Let's say class name. We're going to have a text start here. We're going to move it to the left side. We're going to add a margin to the top and bottom. So this means on the y-axis of 5. Wait a second. 4, 5. Yeah, let's do it 5. And then I'm going to add a margin to the start of 4. Okay, this is going to push it to the left side. Now this h2 will have a class name. So let's just exercise doing a bit of JavaScript, doing a bit of JSX and a bit of Bootstrap. Let's do a text secondary for the color, and let's do a font weight of light. And also have a complete Bootstrap course. If you wish to check that one out, please check out the link in the description, or also on my website. You can find all of my courses on my website. Now let's add to this h1 another class name. Let's use here display, not capital, display -1. It's going to make it more larger, and a font weight of bold. Wait a second. FW-bold. Now I don't want you to be overwhelmed with classes and so on and so on. So I'm going to copy and paste a couple of them. I'm going to go over them. So this is going to be text start again. I think there's going to be in here. I'm going to add an h1 and a paragraph tag to this. Right up. No, wait, there should be another div. So let me create here. First of all, the main will have the class. Let's add some classes to our main. There we go. I'm going to have an orange background, a bit of padding, and we don't need that. Then this column is not going to have the class of start. We're going to go down here. We're going to create another div, the class of call, and another class of text start. And within here, I'm going to copy and paste in h1 as a text. And then we're going to create another class with card, another div with a class of card, and the rest of the classes I'm just going to copy in. Okay, BG purple, this is where our little button will happen. Now inside this div, I'm going to create another div. This is going to be have the class of text end. And right in here, we're going to create a button. Class name btn. This is going to have the text of minus. And this is going to be a btn light, which is going to give it a white background, and btn-sm, which is going to make it smaller. Then after the button, we're going to have a span tag and the text of min. Now I'm going to use a bit of inline style for this. Let's do a style of margin. I'm going to add to this a 0.5 rem margin. So let's push it just a bit to the right side. After this, we're going to have another button. This is going to have the sign of plus. And that's it for now, because down here we're going to create, after our div, we're going to create an h4. It's going to be work out time. Now I'm going to step outside, let's say outside the image, and right before the main, I'm going to create an anchor tag. This is going to leave us, first of all, nowhere, so just /, and let's say we're going to create another button. Now, wait, you know what? Now it's time to create our button component. So we can see we have here a button, we have here a button. So I need to copy and paste this, and this is a lot of code. So what I'm going to do is create a button component. Also, later on, we're going to take a look at how functions work within JSX and within React. So it's time to create another component. Let's go in here. Let's create a button and .jsx. Whoa, JSX. Forgot the X here. So let's use a RFC again. Created our button. This is going to return a button as a button tag. You can also copy and paste the button first of all from here. Let's paste in the button here. You can see that when it's returning only one element here, and it's not too large, it's removing those parentheses as we have, for example, here. Okay, now for our button component. As you can see, we have multiple classes. Some of them we need to add, some of them we need to have. The very first class that we need to have is the btn class. So I'm going to use template string again. I'm just going to pack this into curly brackets. and use template string instead of a string. I'm going to delete everything that is in here. Also, you don't need this quotation. And instead of this, I'm going to pass in here a classes as a prop. Now we need to take this, pass it up here. And now I want to pass in here two things. First of all, I want to pass in a text. So if this has a text, then the text will be displayed, and also text. And you know what? Let's use this. If it does not have a text, then it's going to display button, button. And if it does have a text, then it should display that text. And I'm also going to, before this text, I'm going to give it the possibility to have a icon. Okay, now I'm not going to pass in here anything. Only if the icon exists, then the icon will be passed in. So icon and icon. So let's replace in our home the buttons. Now a very quick tip. Let me create a button first. So underneath this button, I'm not going to, let's just comment this out. So this button just disappeared. A very quick tip. Normally, if you just do less than, then type in the component that exists and close it up, then it will be imported up here. Okay, so it will automatically be imported. Now we already have a button here, so we just need to add a couple of classes to it. Now because we used here light and SM, we can just copy them, use a property of classes, and pass them as a string in here. And we don't need btn because they already start with btn, and we just need to hit save and also delete this. Oh, sorry about that. SM, and instead of the text, we're going to use a minus sign as a string, that is. So we have exactly the same thing. So the very first thing that you're passing in, it will be automatically assigned to this button dash, as you can see in here. So button then button dash, and if you add anything else after that, it's going to be the second class, but you need to use btn again. If you wish to change the color, you can just type in here dark. These are bootstrap classes, okay? Dark, and let's just go back to light. So we have basically the same thing here, and you will see later on this is going to be shorter and shorter the more you use it. Now I'm going to replace it also here and just replace this with a plus sign, and there we go, we have the same thing. And I'm going to delete this comment right here. Now we can add another button in our anchor tag. Let's copy this button, add it down, add it in here. And instead of having it light, I'm going to use purple. It's not going to be a small button. Let's just hit save. So we have here a plus, but we're going to replace it with get started. Let's hit save. Okay, down here we have our next button. If I click on this, you will see the page refreshing. But again, we are going to replace it with a nav link later on. So let's add another class as purple, and let's add rounded pill. It's a bootstrap class. It's going to make it rounded. And let's add a margin of on both axes MY 4. Okay, and we have a margin top and bottom of 4. Okay, so we're pretty much done here, excepting this lady. I think I made a boo-boo. Yes, let's add a style, an inline style with max width of, let's say, 420 pixels. And there we go. It's much better. Okay, lady, you're in the application now. We can get started. We have here a couple of buttons. And you know what? We need to add now need to add here navigation at the top, and let's also add a couple of icons. So next up, let me show you how you can add icons into React. In order to use icons in React, you need to visit the website. That is React and icons. There we go. So React icons. In order to use React icons, first we need to install a package. That is the React icons package. In order to install that package, you just need to type in npm install React icons, and let's go down here, create a new terminal. Remember, in this terminal, you're running your application. In this one, we're going to install the React icons. Now, please be careful. You are in code. Remember, you need to cd into workout app. And here, you can now npm. Now you can type in install, or you can also do just an I. For now, let's do install. And now you need to type in React icons. Just going to copy this. React icons. Also save. This is save it as a dependency. Hit install. Now, until this is installing, let's just take a look here. You will have different type of icons that you can choose from. These are categories. The way you will use icons, because it's already installed, you can now go back here. Very quick. Sometimes you need to when you're installing a package, you need to restart the server. You can do a Ctrl+C, stop the server, npm start, restart the server. Okay. Sometimes when you're installing a package, it could break and you will not be able to see your icons. Now, where are they installed? As I said, in the package.json, you should now see React script, React icons. There we go. React icons version 4.6.0. Maybe it's something later if you're watching this video later than 2022-23. We're at the end of 22, so I'm considering this a 23 crash course. Okay, now let's use icons. Where are we going to use icons? The first icon we're going to use is down here. So in your home component, you're going to go up here and now import. And let me just really quickly show you something. In order to import an icon, you need to type out the name of the icon and then from where you're importing it. Now, you're importing it in using curly brackets, as you can see here. And let me just show you. This is much easier. First icon then you're going to import will be a play button icon. So you can type in here play. You'll see different type of icons appear. Now, please be careful when you're importing an icon. Let me just import it. So play circle, and I'm looking for circle fill. Just a second. Let me type it out. Fill, play, fill. Going to be from BS. So they are also all Bootstrap icons integrated here. So BS. Let me just go to Bootstrap. Bootstrap. Material design. Why isn't Bootstrap here? There it is. Bootstrap and play button. Now there we go. This one. So if I click on it, you can see it copied. Now if you go into your React application, open and close curly brackets, paste it in there, then from open and close quotations, React icons, and now you need to specify the library that you're importing it from. So for example, Bootstrap icons will be imported, and you can see each of them start with the abbreviation BS. Font Awesome icons, if I click on Font Awesome, you'll see they will start with FA. So React icons and then /BS. And you can see it's selecting that specific library. Okay, it compiled. This means it should work. I'm going to close this one up. You can leave it open, just leave it open. Also, the link to that is down in the description below. Now, in order to use this icon, just copy it, go down. And for example, if I would now paste this icon before my button, and remember, this is now a component, so you need to do less than, greater than, open and close it, and there you go. You'll see your icon in here. Now, for example, if I would use this icon, so I'm going to cut it out from here, go back into my button component and use it. Let's see, I'm going to use it in here as a component. I need to also import it as a component, so paste it in and import this from here, from React icons and dash BS, and then all of my buttons will have that play button. Now we don't want to do this. We have this icon as a prop, so basically whatever I pass in here as an icon, so I can basically delete this from here. I just showed you that you could pass in an icon to a component directly, but we need to pass it in here. So I'm going to use the property of icon and pass it in here as a component. And you can see it now, it's in here. Now you can also increase its font size by using on this component a class name of fs-1, and it will increase it. And if you wish to add a bit of margin to the right side, then right side is and 1. Okay, margin and ms is margin start. We don't want that. We want margin and 1. This means 1 rem. So we have a play button. We know how we can use icons now. Now let's use a couple of more icons. And for this, we're going to create our navigation. Now I'm going to create a navigation within our app.js. So please move back to the app.js. Within here, after actually before our home, we are now going to create a nav bar with the class name of navbar. What am I doing? Class name is equal to navbar. Hit save. So you're going to see some kind of orange thing appearing up here. And now just use allies, and these allies will have a icon of, and I'm going to use here multiple icons. So let's just start by importing them up here. So import modules. We're going to import from React-icons-fa So font awesome icons. We're going to import a FA home. Now we're importing multiple icons. So comma, FA user, and then FA chart line. Also, I'm going to import, I'm just going to copy and paste this from BS, so from Bootstrap icons, a BS plus circle and fill, and then one more, which is going to be BS and bell and fill. Okay, now let's use this icon. So first LI, I'm going to use, you know what, let me just start up doing this. Now copying this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and let's start up with the very first one is going to be home, so paste it in here. Then we're going to have user, paste it in here. Then BS plus, then FA chart line, and then BS, woo, copy and paste. And there we go, there are icons, there's a navigation. Perfect. And down here is our home. Now, this will be later on, will be replaced with the actual navigation, but using React router. Using the React router. Okay, but for now, I just want to show you how you can use icons. We just created a navigation here. You could also create this as a component, but I'm not going to do this right now. This is a more complex process and we are not going to go too deep into this for now. This is just enough. This is outside the scope of this tutorial, of this crash course. So let's just stick to the basis and you know what, let's get things moving. We are in React, we need to make something work. So we're going to make this 2 buttons, do something and change something here using React hooks. So hope you're excited because we're now getting into the real stuff of React. So let's first of all get started with understanding what a hook is in React, I mean, not in reality. A hook is a specific function that lets you hook into React features. For example, we're going to learn now about the useState hook. useState is a hook that lets you add React state to functional components. We'll learn about another hook later on, but we're not going to learn about all hooks because they're outside of the scope of this crash course. So useState returns a pair of values and they basically mean the current state and a function that is going to update that current state. So it's going to be much easier if I'm just going to show you how they work. Now we're going to go into our home component. Now in order to use hooks, you need to import them from the React library. So we're going to do an import. And as I said, hook is a function. Now when you're importing functions, so not components, but functions, you need to import them using curly brackets. Now we're going to import useState and we're going to import it from the React library. Okay, so useState is now imported. In order to use useState, we define the state by using this structuring. So we're going to assign it first of all to a variable. Then we're going to use square brackets. Basically, we're going to put them into an array. And we're going to destructure here the state. So a variable that is defining the state. And then a function that is updating that state. So let's say we want to change the state of this timer here. Basically, if we want to be able to decrease and increase the timer using these 2 buttons. This means this right here, this min, should change. Now, first of all, let's type in here work out time. This is the state. And now a function that is going to update this state. And a naming convention is using set. And again, the name of the variable work out time. Now, in order to use React hook, we need to assign this to the function of useState. Okay, we imported useState up here from React, and now we are assigning this to this function. Now I could, in order to use this now, use the state. Let's just copy this and add it down here. Where did I add it? In the text. Now this is the button. We need to add it here. Here's where we need to add it. So before this min, we're going to add, using open and close curly brackets, the workout time. Now you can't see anything changing because it has no state. So we can predefine a state. For example, if I add here 0, you'll see 0 appearing here. Now let me add a space here. Workout time. No, not there. Here. Space, and we have now a bit of space. So workout time has now the state of 0, of a value. In order to change this value, we need to use this function, this set workout time. Now, where should this function be triggered? Well, we said that we want to increase and decrease the timer using these two buttons. So let's go down to our button, and I could add to a button here a onClick event. But because this is now the component, you know what? How can I show you this the easiest way? Usually you would add it directly into the tag, so into the button tag. If I would have, let me just do it this way. So if I would have another, let's just use an asterisk. I'm going to create another button. This is this ugly button right here. Okay, let's just quickly add a class btn, and let's say btn dark. This is the dark one. So if I'm going to press this button, something should happen. So for example, let's say onClick. Let's onClick do something here. onClick, let's console log. Now onClick will trigger a function. As soon as I click on this, I want to trigger the function. Let's go up here. Let's say function. So now I'm defining a function, click. And this function, all it will do is console log the string of click, okay, in the console. Because we have done here this. Now I'm going to call this click function in here. Okay, so let's also open up the terminal, close this, open up the console. And you can see it was called. Now because I just executed here, now I wish to execute this click on a event. So basically I could pass in here a callback function, which only if I click this, then click will be executed. So I start clicking it, click. This is the way you execute functions in React. So we have it up here as a function, and it's executed down here using this arrow function, anonymous function. Hope you understand anonymous functions. And it is called by this event listener on click. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Boom, it's gone. And also this is also gone. Now we're going to go into our button. So we know that we can add click events to the buttons. So I'm going to go here, on click, and on click should do something. And in our case, it's going to activate a property. And this property, we're also going to call it on click. So the on click prop, if I can spell on click, should be up here and passed in as a prop to the button. So let's close the console. Should I close the console? No, I'm going to leave the console open. Let's go back home. The on click is now passable to this button. So onClick is now a property, and whatever we pass into this property will be now passed into this button here. So I could pass in now another function right above our export. No, within here. So I could pass in here. Let's create now a arrow function. So const on const. Let's call this click event. Now let's call this handle click, and all this function will do. Now this is an arrow function. So I'm basically not using a callback function down there, but I'm assigning it up here using an arrow function. And console log new click. Okay, we have it here. And now I can pass this function in here. Now let's take a look at the console. So if I'm on the minus button, if I'm clicking this, then I can see this new click. If I'm clicking this button, nothing happens. If I'm clicking this again, I'm passing this function down here. So this is how you use functions. Now let's see how we can use this on state, how we can use this set workout timer down here in our click. Let's first of all use it on our increase the timer. So on click, we have it as a prop. Now I'm going to pass in here set workout timer. But the set workout timer needs to be triggered. So we need here a callback function, arrow function. And each time we click on this, the function of set workout timer will be triggered. And if I just click in here, you'll see nothing happens. Just actually the 0 disappeared. So if I need to refresh it. So if I click on this, what just happened? Well, it's updated it. If I, for example, pass in here a string of update, let's save, refresh the page again. Now if I click on this plus, what do you think will happen? Instead of the 0, which is the state, which is the value, so state and value of workout timer is currently 0, is going to be updated to the string of update. If I pass it multiple times, nothing will happen. So what now I could do, I could take my current state, which is workout timer, which has the value of 0 and plus 1. As I showed you, we can do calculations within this. So now if I press on plus, it's going to update it one time. You can see adding update, update, update. Now it's remembering the old state. So if I would replace this with 0 and now press 1 is 1. If I press 1 again, what will happen? It's going to be 2, because I just added 1 to the initial state, which was 1, and it's doing now a calculation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I need to decrease it. So how can we decrease it? Well, we're just going to copy this function, replace it in a minus here. So on click, arrow function, set timeout, and decrease it by 1. Okay, so plus and minus. Voila! And this is how useState works. It sets something as nothing or default. This default is now 0. If I take this 0 out, it refresh, you can see there's nothing there. But if I start adding, well, it's NaN, it's not a number. So I need to have this as 0 within here. So it starts at 0, starts adding to it, and it can also decrease it by calling this set workout timer, which is updating the current state. Okay, we don't need this handle click event anymore. That is outside the scope of this tutorial. You can do a lot of things in here. So hope you understand it. Now we can move on to useEffect. So for example, if we increase or decrease this, we would like to change the title here or the description here. Let's say if I'm over a specific time, the workout gets harder, and if I over another time, the workout gets even harder. And I want to signify this or signal this using this text. Now this is what I call side effects, and in order to achieve side effects in React, you can use the useEffect hook. In order to use the useEffect hook, again, you need to import it. You can either do this, useEffect, just copied it, or import it just once here, useEffect, and I'm going to delete this. Just as you did with multiple, actually close this one up. Just as you did with importing multiple icons, you can also import multiple states from React in the same curly brackets. Okay, useEffect. How can we use useEffect? And what does it do? Well, the useEffect hook lets you perform side effects in a functional component. So what we're going to do now is update this workout time using useEffect, and it will depend on the state of the workout timer. Now you could either use switch statements or if statements. I'm going to use if statements for now. So what are we going to do? We're going to call the useEffect hook. This is using a callback function. Whatever you pass into this callback function will change the state of workout timer if you specify it. Now, in other words, actually useState is loaded as soon as the page loads, and it will perform whatever you type in here. Now we can add conditions to this. So you saw here the problem that we have our 0 as workout time. So I could actually, if I would take this out and add nothing to it, then you could say it's adding not a number. So one thing that we could do is set, in order to update the workout timer, you need to use the set workout timer and set it to 0 within here. So let's see what happens. You can see as soon as the page loaded, so if I hit refresh, as soon as the page loaded, it is 0 because it just updated that state. If I would change this to Norbert, yeah, that's not how we type Norbert. Doesn't matter, it just updated the state to Norbert. So as soon as we hit refresh, when the page loads, it's going to load this, is going to set the state to 0. So let's leave it at 0. Now let's create a couple of conditions. What if we want to change something else? Let me actually delete this if statement for now. What if we want to change something else? What if we want to change the value of this text? Now let's create another variable. We're going to call this workout difficulty, and we're going to use useState again. So let's create here const. We're going to assign this to workout difficulty, and we need a function that's going to update the workout difficulty. So set workout difficulty. Okay, and we're going to assign this to useState. Workout and difficult. Also missing here an F, difficulty. So let's move our state down. Where was it? Here. And instead of workout time, we're going to add here, well, workout, the variable workout and difficulty. Now it's nothing because it didn't set it to anything. Again, we're going to go up in our useEffect and we can set the difficulty to a specific value. Now you could use set difficulty and set the difficulty here to the string of set workout difficulty, and you would have it here. You know what, I'm zoomed in too much. There we go. But what happens if we increase and decrease this and it's above 0? So this should change. But if it is at 0, so if we decrease it to 0, no difficulty, then it should pop up the text of set the workup difficulty. So we're going to use here a if statement. So if the value of workout time is equal to 0, then set the difficulty, we're going to pack this into curly brackets, then set the difficulty to set workout difficulty. Now, what if it's not? What if it's greater than 0? So I'm going to copy this. If it's strictly greater than 0, then I'm going to set it to easy. Okay, so if this 0 is going to pass, so if this number is going to be greater than 0, then it should be easy. Now I'm going to remove, or comment, remove set workout timer, because that was just for showing purposes only, and pass it once again in here to 0. Now check out what happens if I increase this to 1. So one click and check out this text, and it's changed to easy. See how simple this is? Now let's create another one. But wait, what will happen if I pass it? If I decrease it to 0? Then it's going to bring me back to set workup difficulty. So what if we want to increase the difficulty from easy to medium? Then we're going to, let's just say 10, medium. So if I am over 10, it's not 10, but over 10, then it's going to be medium. If I'm under 11 or equal to 10, then it's going to be easy again. Now let's add another difficulty, and we're going to call this hard. And let's say we're going to surpass 20, and this should be then hard difficulty. Okay, so if I'm over 20, then the difficulty is hard. And once again, if I'm down, medium, easy, and set difficulty at 0. Okay, perfect. So now you just know how to use useEffect and also how to use state. So now we can move on and go into more complex things. Now, as I said, React does not come with a routing system like Angular comes, but you can install one. For example, we can install React Router DOM in our application. Now, the React Router in a nutshell is as following. React Router enables the client-side routing. In traditional websites, the browser, requests a document from the server and then downloads and evaluates the CSS, the JavaScript, and so forth and so on, and then renders it into an HTML which the browser can actually read. Now, when the user clicks on a link, for example, as we have here, this button is in a link, it starts to process all over again, and a new web page is then loaded. Now, as I said, this is a single page application. React creates single page applications, so even if we do this kind of calculations here, and you can see this changing, it's not loading anything. Also, when we're going to click on this, you can see it's reloading the page. It shouldn't reload the page, it should send us to a new, well, not a new page, but a new part of this application. But without reloading, all of the information should already be there. With React Router, the client-side routing allows your app to update the URL from a link click without making another request from another document from the server. Instead, your app can immediately render from the new UI and make data requests with fetch to update the page with the new information. So let's get started by installing the React Router. For this, we're going to go back to our newly opened terminal here. If you don't have one open, then please click on this button here, open a new terminal, and within being in your app, so in the workout app, you can now install the React Router. This is going to install it from the internet. So npm, we're going to use this time, react router DOM, and if I hit enter, it's going to take a couple of seconds, and this should now install the React Router DOM. Okay, so this is finished. We're going to move back here. Now let's take a look in our package.json, and you should now see React Router DOM added to your package.json, to dependencies. Now we can use React Router DOM. So where do we use React Router DOM? Well, first things first, let's go into your... once again, if you don't see this, then please stop and restart the server. Okay, now let's go into index. As I said, this is where everything is pushed out to the DOM. So we need to kind of wrap this into a routing system. In order to do that, we need to import our React Router. So let's start by importing the browser router as, and you can specify it, what it should be imported as router. Now we are going to import this from the React router DOM. So not React DOM, but React router DOM. Okay. We also need to import the routes and the route. If you watched a older version of React router DOM, then you will see here a switch instead of the routes. This was the switching system, but they are actually routes now. And the routes will specify actually that each route is in the routes actually. It will get much simpler just in a couple of seconds. Now I'm not going to go deep into React router DOM. I do have a complete crash course on React router DOM with a project. Please check that one out. It's down in the description below. I'm just going to give you the basics, and this should set you up and you should be good to go. For more information, please visit that crash course. Okay, so we are here in the strict mode, and this is our app. Our app will be then pushed to the root ID, to this root variable, which is this root ID, which is in the document. In order to create a routing system, we need to wrap this app into a router. Now this is a component, so we need to have an opening and a closing router tag. For whatever reason it doesn't close. Oh, because we're again not writing React JavaScript. So React and JS, and they should now recognize all the annotations, and the closing tag should be here. So let's move our app in here. Now it will start to break, but just follow along. So we moved it into a router. For now, everything works. If I click here, everything, if I refresh, everything should work perfectly. Now I need to move this into routes. So let's open and close. Now let's just type in routes, because it's going to close it up automatically. So if I do here an opening and closing, it's going to give me the routes. I'm going to move the app once again, one step further. Now this is going to break, because this is now looking for a route. So our very first route, let's type in here route and opening and closing tag, will have the path as nothing, and the element that is going to look for will be the app. So this component right here. And now voila, there it is. Now within this route of app, we'll have even more multiple routes. We'll have a home page and we will have a workout page. Workout page will be here where we can add multiple workouts. And this should be clickable through, or this should be visitable through the navigation. Now the user, the statistics, and the alerts will not be part of this crash course, so I'm just going to focus on homepage and the workouts, because this would be a really long application, believe me. So as I said, in our app we have another route, and there should be a component again, but this time I'm not going to use open and close components. I'm going to use a self-closing component, and the path will be to home, and the element will be the home component. Now as you can see, we do not have this imported as a route, and it's also not in a route. So let's create a couple of routes. Not in the components, but in the source folder, create a new folder called routes. In this routes folder is where, from the component folder, we're going to move our home component. Now this is going to break a couple of things. If you just saw that it was automatically updated for me. So if you would go into your home, then you will see it's importing image from one level up, image folder, home image. The title is now imported from a different path. It's now imported from one level up, components, and title, button, the same thing. And this is why it should still work. Now we also need to import home from routes. So let's go up here when we have our imports, and let's import home from .routes and /home. Hit save. I forgot here home /. And there we go. Now it works again. Okay, now let's create a way to navigate through this. Now this means I'm going to go back to my app.js where the nav is, and up here I'm going to import the navigation system from our React router. For this, we're just going to import, and using curly brackets, we're going to import the nav link and the out, capital O, outlet. And this again is going to be imported from React router and DOM. So first things first, let's talk about the nav links. Basically, as you can see here, this should send us to our home page. Now this is just the icon, but it should send us to our home page. Usually you would use an anchor tag in here and you would send the user to a different HTML page. Now this is not how this works. So instead of link, we're going to have nav link as a component. Now this needs a path, so it's going to send us to, and within quotations, /home. And you can see this just turned blue. Why is this? So if I click on this, as you can see up here, instead of 300, I have now /home. Now if I refresh the page, you can see I'm still on home, but if I would send the next one, let's replace this. Actually, let's replace all LIs. Just, going to do this way, boom, boom, and boom. And let's send the next one to another page, which is going to be called /user, which does not exist. So /user, this right here, if I click on it, you will see it sends me to /user, and there's nothing here. Now this is not good. Not only that the page does not exist, the navigation system is not working yet, because the navigation system should have a outlet, a way where we can view what we're navigating. So this is the system, and this should display somewhere else in the component the required pages, for example, home page. So what we're going to do here is after navigation system, create a div. Just do here div. Now let's do an inline style. Actually, should replace this with outlet. You know what? Let me just go in here, down here, and create another class of outlet. You know what? Capital outlet. And I'm going to let's do a height of 80 viewport heights, and a margin from the top of 5 viewport heights. That's it. I'm going to go back to our app.js. Instead of style, I'm going to have here class of outlet. Okay, and there's our outlet. It's on the top above our home. I'm going to comment out the home. And now in this div, I'm going to use this component right here, the outlet component. Okay, and close it up. And voila. What can you see here? You see your home. Now if I would click on user will disappear and there's nothing in here. Now let's move back to our index, because we just saw that if you're going to our user page, there's nothing there. So let's also add a path in case someone lands on a page that's not there. This is called a path not found route. So within our app, we're going to add another route, but this time the path will be assigned just to star. Now the element is going to be passed in here, and we could actually pass in here directly an element. Let's say a main tag, and we're just going to add here paragraph tag of there's nothing here. Okay, so if I click on user, instead of having an empty page and the navigation disappearing, we just added a solution for a path not found. Now I can go back to home. I'm going to get this page, go back to user. You can see no reload whatsoever is happening, only the / is changing. User, home, user, home. And it's also signifying that there's nothing here. If I go to the next one, well, they're not linked up yet, but I'm going to link them up just in a couple of seconds. So we have our home page. Let's go back to our app. Let's go to the next one. This should go to our workout, and then statistics. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it in here, statistics, and the last one should be alerts. So copy this one more time and paste it in here. Well, alert or alerts. Okay, so if I start clicking through this, you can see workout, statistics, and alerts, and there's also nothing here. Now, where do I know that I'm on the right icon here, where we can add some kind of signaling that we are on a active icon? And there is a isActive functionality in React Router. You don't have to even import it. All you have to do is go in the nav link. After the to property, you can just type in here class name and use a isActive on it. And this will be wrapped in a callback function. And if it is active, then it should change the class to text purple. And if it's not active, then it should change the class to text black and -50. This is a Bootstrap class. Okay. So as you can see, this is not active, but if I click on it, it's active and now it's purple. Pretty simple. Also, if I hover over it, it has this blue effect. So let's do this to all of the classes, to all of the nav links. So I'm going to copy this and just paste it to the user, to workout, after statistics, and after alerts. Okay, now you can see they're all grayed out, and if I click through them, it's going to show me on which one I am. Pretty simple. So hopefully you can understand why React is so powerful and see also the benefits of using React instead of regular JavaScript and HTML and so on and so on. Now the last thing I want to add to our index is another route. Just going to copy this, add it right here. So as the path, we're going to go to workout, and the element that we're going to import will be workouts. So workouts. We don't have this workouts, and this is going to break. So what we need to do is create our workouts, and that is what we are going to do next up. So let's create our workouts, and our workouts will be actually created in routes. So routes, new file, workouts.jsx, here's the RFC. Let's also not forget to go back in our index and import workouts, because we have it now. So right after you imported home, we just copy and paste this and change home using Control D to workouts. Okay. I can see it's no longer broken, and we can also go to workouts and it will break now because there's nothing in there. Also, we're not returning it as we should, and now it should work. Okay, so we have workouts here. Go to home, user, there's nothing here. But if we go to workouts, there we go, we have workouts. There's no workout here, so let's start creating our workouts. But workouts will actually be first of all, it should have a title. So let us not return a div, but let us return a title component. Hit enter. They should import the component. They should also, what am I doing? Close up the component here, and we have title because we didn't specify anything for the text. We just have title here. So let's change the text to workout plan. It is amazing, the mistyping today. So workout plan. Okay, there's a title. And I'm going to change this to, so the color, let's change the color of the title. Let's change this to purple. And there we go, there's a title. Okay, next up, we will need another navigation. So I'm going to create another nav tag, nav with the class of dflex. This is going to be different than this nav bar here. So I'm going to add a couple of Bootstrap classes to it. So dflex, then mx free, margin on the x-axis, then margin on the y-axis of 5. Then I'm going to set this as justify content as space between, so just type in between. Then a font weight of bold and a text dark. Let's hit enter. There's nothing in there. But now once again, we're not going to use allies. We are going to use nav links, so we need to import them up here. So import, we're going to import nav link and outlet from React router DOM. Okay, so let's go ahead here, use the very first component of nav, barpop, nav link, and this will go to our / workout and / the very first day, which is going to be Monday. Okay, class name again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to use a callback function here and check for is active, and if it's not active, then we're going to use our is active, and then we're going to set the class as day active, and if it's not, then I'm going to set it to another class of day. And these are just classes that I defined in CSS. And also close this up with a closing nav link. Okay, within here we're going to have just a M for Monday, capital M. You can see already taking effect. Because of time constraints, I'm going to copy and paste this in. You can just pause the video and type of everything that you see here, but I literally do not have the time to type everything out. So there we go. There's a navigation. Monday, nothing there. Tuesday, nothing there. Wednesday, nothing there. So far and so on. I'm going to take care of this just in a couple of seconds, but the outlet for this should be actually down here. So once again, we're going to do here outlet as a component. So outlet, and it's going to be closed up here, and T outlet. There we go. So yeah, this is going nowhere because we're still missing here our days, but we can now take care of that. And that's basically it for our workouts component. So we can close this one out. We can close up our home, our index. Let me just see. Yeah, we need to add then the routes here in a route, and this should be then not a self-closing component, but a open and close component, because we will have multiple routes in here. Basically, this route will have then other routes, and we also need to take care if there's nothing in here. So let me first of all do that. So the very first route that I'm going to create, so route is going to be the index route. So the index route is, well, if there's nothing in here, then do something. And this is going to, as an element, I'm going to paste in the element here. Just create a main tag. So main, what am I doing? Open and close main tag. With route. This is closing up here, and you're not closing anywhere, so I need to close you up, and you should be here. Okay, so our route, our index route, will display, if I type something in here, just take a look, this. Okay, so it's nothing, but we do want to specify that, hey, you should choose one of these days if you want to see down here something. So this is why, let's create a main. I'm going to give this a class of card. Again, these are Bootstrap classes, bg orange, bg dash orange, and margin, all around margin of 3. Okay, there we have it. Now I'm going to use here a font awesome. Yep, so I need to import. Again, we're going to import a icon. We're going to import a what am I doing? FA arrow and up from React icons and dash FA. Now let's use this arrow up. Actually, this arrow up should be in a h3. So I'm going to delete this h3. This should have a class of text dash white, padding dash 1, then the flex, justify content, and around, and align dash items dash center. Okay, and now let's paste in here once our icon tag, and actually I'm going to copy and paste it, and between them I'm going to type in choose a workout day, workout and day, and there we go. We have our arrows up there, and we have our text in here as a h3. So everything is increased because I have an h3. If you want to make this smaller to an h5 or something like that, then just get everything smaller. So this is our default route. Doesn't matter where I click. Oh wait, here. This is our index route. It specifies that you should do something. So it's not like the path of star. It's actually it actually just stands as a default route without having everything in here. So now we can actually create these routes for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on and so on. Now we're going to create these routes within our route system. So we're going to go in our routes, create another folder, and let's call them training days. And let's start out by creating one day. Let's call this Monday, new file, monday.jsx. Okay, RFC, RFC. We have a Monday up here. Again, you can delete this. We're exporting Monday. Now if I would go back to our routes, not our routes, our index, and right after our index route here within workout, we can now create a route, a self-closing route, so not an opening and closing route, and this route will have as a path Monday, and it should have as an element the Monday route and close it up as an element. So if I now click on Monday, then it still doesn't work because I imported now Monday route training days, Monday. Let me just check Monday, or because I didn't save it. Okay, so always save, click on Monday, you should see Monday. If you click on Tuesday, then there's nothing in there. You know what? No, I'm not going to create a different one because we could also work on Sundays. So Monday, we just created Monday. It returns Monday. It doesn't return anything. We need to return a workout. Now we need to create workouts. I'm going to create workouts in components because workout will be a component. So new file in component, and let's create a workout.jsx rfc, create a workout. And now I need to import a couple of things. So first of all, I'm going to import a AI fill delete from React icons and AI is the icon that we're going to use. And next up, I'm going to install a dependency, and that is going to be the dropdown. And for this, we're going to create a dropdown component. So let's create here within components a dropdown component .jsx as a rfc. We also need to use useState here, so I'm going to import useState from React. And now we need to install npm I and also save it as a dependency --save react select. Hit install, and after a couple of seconds, let's check it if this is done. React select, there we go. Okay, now we can use React select. Let's go back here, close this one up, and use React select in our dropdown component. For this, we need to import select from React select, and also need to import a couple of icons. So we're going to import, let's see, GI. You know what? I'm going to copy them in because this is taking far too long. So we're going to import from React icons /GI, the GI converse show, the GI body balance, GI cycle, and GI punching bag. And last but not least, because I couldn't find it within GI, I'm also going to import the TB swimming from React icons TB. Okay, now let's work on our dropdown. First of all, our dropdown will return a fragment and not a div, and this fragment will depend on the select, because we're using here useState. We're going to select that option. The selected option will be in a useState. So up here, const, and I'm going to move really fast from here on. Select option and set select option. I'm going to assign this to useState, and the state will be null. Now before the return, we want to handle the change that is going to happen here. So we're going to create a const handle, which is going to handle the change in the selection. This is going to look for a event, and that event is going to then set the selected option to that event. And I misspelled changed ch. Okay. Now, what are the options? Now, for the options, I'm going to create a const options, and I'm going to assign this to an object, actually an array. Now, let's use options. I'm going to use here a array of objects. First object will have the text of running, comma the value 1. I could have set the value first, value 1, and as a icon, we're going to have, let's see, we're going to have the shoe, the very first one. Come on, shoe is an icon. I can also give this a class name of text orange. Now we are going to have multiple icons like this. I'm just going to copy this, hit save. The next one will be swimming. It's going to have the value of 2. It's going to have a different icon of TB, this one, the same color. Moving on, cycling is going to be number 3. Is going to have GI cycling, obviously. And then we have number 4. Come on, number 4 is going to be body weight. Body weight is going to be GI body balance, and number 5 will be bag workout, my favorite, and it's going to be GI punching bag. Okay, so I just passed in here selected. Nothing is selected, but if something is selected, then following thing should happen, and that is in a div going to output our selected option dot icon first of all. And this should have a bit of a padding, so let's give it a class of display, let's say 3. If this is too large or too small, I'm going to increase or decrease it. Okay, but we're not done yet. We also need to add here the selection. So we're going to use the select object. Now this has a placeholder. The placeholder will be select option, because you need to select an option, and this should be self-closing. You know what? Let's also import this drop down in our workout, so we can actually start seeing something. So import drop down from drop down. I'm going to use drop down in here in our workout. I'm going to style this just in a couple of seconds. So Monday, we are in Monday, and we should see a workout drop down. Oh yeah, because we need to loop through them and then display them in a card. And then the workout will be in the workout card. And we also need the workout title. So let me create a workout title real quickly. Workout title.jsx. Not workout title, I want to create a workout day. Ah, sorry about that. So workout day, RFC, don't need this. And the workout day will take in a text as a prop, so text and a color. And it's going to return, actually I'm just going to copy this in. It's going to return H4. And we can close this up. We can go now to our workout card, which we need to create. Because all of them will be the workout day will be brought together in a workout card. So workout card, actually card type, type of card. Workout type and card and .jsx. So all of them will be brought together in here, and by then using useEffect and useState. Actually no, effect will not use here, only useState. So I need to import workout day from, because we know inner components workout day, then we need to import the workout itself. So actually not, delete this, and we have our workout, and we also need a button. So let's also import a button. Import button from components button. Okay, so we have everything that we need here, and the workout type card will be then exported to each and every day. So basically in here where we're returning Monday, we can now return using a fragment, we can now return the workout type card, and oh Jesus, and you should be closing in here, and you can now see workout type card here instead of Monday. But because this is Monday, we'll pass in here prop workout day and use it as the current day. So this is going to be Monday. Let's go back to our workout, where is it? Workout card type, and pass it in as a prop. So workout day, and workout day will be then returned down here as workout, actually as the component of workout day. So workout day, and close it up. And we know that this has the text property, and the text property we're now going to set as workout day. I do think that I had this as lowercase. So workout day, and now it should say Monday. Okay, if I go here, nothing here. If I go back, workouts, go to Monday, this is Monday. Now next up I need the button component. So button, let's add a text to the button of, add workouts, because you can add multiple workouts. The button should also close. So add workouts, here's the button, there's the button. And let's add a couple of classes. So classes, I'm going to add here purple, then rounded pill, and a width of 50%. And there we go. So this button will allow us to add workouts down here. When we click this button now, we can add an on-click event, and this on-click event will then trigger a function that is going to be called add workout. So where's the function? Well, we need to create this function. We're going to create this function up here. So const add workout. We're going to send it to an arrow function, and this will then need to add a workout. But this function will add a workout component. So this means that it needs to take in a workout. Well, now whatever it takes in a workout, then we're going to use our useEffect. So const workout, and we need also something that's going to set the workout. So set workout, and this will be the state. So useState. the current state of the workouts will be an empty array. In this empty array, we're going to pass in workouts. Now, where will these workouts be displayed? Well, they will be displayed down here. So after our button, we're going to open and close curly brackets, and we're going to go over our workouts. And I think I misspelled here. This should be the state should be workouts, and this should be set workouts. So over our workouts, we can now use a map method. So map, we're going to map over our workouts, and then we're going to select a workout and display it down here using a workout component. Okay, so now it's looking for workouts from here. Because I messed something up. So now it's looking for workouts, and it's seeing that there's nothing in there. So it can't display anything. Normally, when you're using map method, you should also assign a key. So in our case, we're going to use as the key the workout, and from the workout the ID. Now we don't have an ID. Why don't we have an ID? Also, let me pass in here the workout. We don't have an ID because we didn't assign it one. We can assign it a unique ID. There should be workouts. We can assign it a unique ID by using a ID generator. Again, modules help us out, and we are going to install UUID. So let's go down here, npm I UUID, and this is going to get us the latest version of UUID. In our case, it's going to be version 4. So let me just check this. Dependencies UUID, 9. Perfect. But we are using version 4. This is just the version. So version 4 is actually generating a specific string. So let me just show you. We're going to import up here at the button, import. We're going to import v4 as UUID v4, and we're going to import it from UUID. Okay. Now each time we're going to call this function, we have it, add a workout, it should then generate a ID and add it to the array. So let's do this. Let's create first of all a const new workout, new workouts, and we're going to create a new array by first of all spreading the array, the existing array. We're going to use a spread operator, so we're going to spread our workouts, and then add this workout that we're passing in here, workout. Now after we added this workout, we want to go over on new workouts and actually display using filter the workout that has the ID. So if there's no workout with a ID, then the workout.id is going to be equal, we're going to assign it to the UUID function. This is going to generate a ID, but if it has a ID, then it should display the workout.id. And yeah. Okay, now we need to update these workouts by using the set workouts, and it's going to set it to new workouts. I know this seems kind of complicated, but just stick with me. So if I click the add button, then it just generated a workout. And you can see the selection is appearing. Now we need to work on our selections. I just wanted to show you that, hey, check it out. We're generating workouts. Now I also want to be able to delete workouts, but we're going to handle this just in a couple of seconds after we're done with our workouts. Okay, we're done with drop down. Let me just think about it. Drop down. Now we're not finished yet. So in our selection, let's add also a value. So the value for the selection will be the selected option. Basically what our option we select, this right here, selected option will be the value. It's going to update this right here. Now let's move back. After our value, we need the option, and the option will be, well, whatever options we passed in here, options. So these options are actually these options. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. And now when we're changing something, then we need a change handler. So on change, the event of on change will then handle the change, which we created actually up here. This is the handler. The handler will then change to the event that was selected. So change update again this selected option. Okay, the last part I'm going to paste in because this is actually from the specific selected object. So basically the get optional label is passing in the ID and is also displaying the label. Okay, so now you can see all your selections. And not just that, but you also see here, up here, it says change to cycling, to body weight, so on. So whatever I'm changing here is also changing up here. And this is just a bit of styling for this part right here. Now we're done with our drop down. We can close it up. We still need to work on our workout. Also done with our card. Monday is done. And workout. So the workout is a bit of long coding, but well, there's no way around it. If I start stopping and paste, just start copying and pasting in things, and if you will really understand it. Let's see how we can simplify this. So this workout right here needs to have multiple elements. One of them, first of all, the entire workout is a card. So let's add the class name of card to it. Okay, if I hit save, you'll see it's kind of changing. Then we'll need to add a margin or a margin of free, a padding of free, and a shadow as a box shadow. Okay, now it's already giving me some playing room here. And then it's next, instead of workout, I'm going to delete this. Instead of this, we're going to have a div with a class of row, then another class of align item center. So hit save, and within here we're going to have our drop down, which is going to be in a column of 6. So let's move the drop down in here. Okay, so left we're going to have our drop down. If you select it, and it's going to display what we just selected. On the right side we will have our options. So the next one will be a column of 5, so div with a call of 5, and this is based on the 12 column system, of a maximum 12 column system of Bootstrap. Next we're going to have a div with a flex, a justify content center, and within here we're going to have an href. This is going to have a input. I know what the input is. This is really just a simple input, so I'm going to copy it. So this is the input tag, because we're basically trying to input here a value that is then going to be selectable through minutes and or. So href, after the href we're going to have our selection. So span, text muted, we're going to have this selection kilometers and minutes. And the very last thing is going to be a little badge pill. Right after the span tag, we're going to have a div with a class of badge, run the pill, and it's outside of a column system. Why is that? Input, div, badge. Let's just take a look. It's because I'm zoomed in. That's much better. Okay, so this is working. Oh yeah, the last thing that I need is a button, and this will be right after our second div down here. And the button will be handling the delete effect. So we need to pass this work out in this function as a prop, and we also need to pass in the on click and the work out. Okay, and this should work now. Am I still zoomed into too much? Yeah, just a bit. Okay, also the column system. Let me just check the column system. So the very first row, I can go up here, delete this, and that's much better. Okay, now also the entire code is down in the description below, so don't sweat it. So basically when we're going to press this delete button, we should be able to delete our workouts. So let's go to our workouts. Let's close the CSS, let's close the index, let's close the app. Let's go to our workouts. No, this is the navigation. To the workout type. Yeah, because we have here our add new workout, and we also need to be able to delete the workout. In order to delete the workout, we're going to pass it. We already passed the key, we already passed the workout. We also need to pass the on click event, which is going to then handle remove workout. Workout with item, it doesn't matter. Now let's call it workout. Okay, so we need to create this function. We're going to go up here, exactly as we created this one. Again, we're going to create a const handle workout. This is going to pass in. Now we only need the ID because it needs to know which workout should it delete. For this, we're going to pass in the ID. Then we're going to set the workouts by looping over the workouts. So workouts.filter, and we're going to only return, parentheses, and we're going to only return the workout, basically the workouts that workouts.id do not match with the passed in ID. Okay, so whatever ID I'm going to click on from this workout is going to be deleted. You can see boom, boom. Let me just select something so you can see swimming and cycling. So what do you want to delete? Let's say swimming. We're going to delete swimming, and then we can delete cycling. Okay, we can add as much as we want, and we can select what we want, and we can delete what we want. And also everything else is still working. Okay, the rest of it is up to you. You need to create Friday, Tuesday, so far and so on. Please create them. You see what I did here. Add workouts and come back to me with questions in the comments if you don't manage to hey, wait just a second, we didn't do this. Okay, so get started. Let's go back to home, because get started should also now throw us toward the workout plan. So how can we use this in home? Where do I have it? This button right here. Instead of anchor tags, as I told you before, we can now use, you know what, I'm going to first of all create it on here. We can now use a nav link, and let's see, did it import it? No, it did not, so we need to import it right here. Import nav link from React router DOM. And exactly as we did before, we're going to send this to workouts, and we're going to paste in the button here. Copy, paste the button. I'm going to comment this out. So we're kind of seeing the same thing, but we're actually using this button right now. So if I click on this, oh, wait, what did I do wrong? Workouts, or was it workout? And there we go. So it was workout. Okay, one day, had a workout, so far and so on. Next day, it's up to you. Had a workout, or don't add a workout. It really is up to you if you understood my crash course. Okay, so we have a working application. Now we need to build it out because we're in the development phase. So go to your terminal. Actually, you can delete everything right now. Go here, have the terminal open, and now Control-C or Command-C on the Mac. No, Control-C on the Mac. Now we just stopped the server. If I refresh here, you'll see it's no longer working. Now what we need to do is actually build our application. Let's just close everything up. You saw your source, you saw your public folder. Now you need to create a folder that is called the build folder. And that is the folder that is normally served on websites, and also where you have your versions and so forth and so on. So in order to create your build, you need to type in npm run and build. This is going to take a couple of minutes, and it's also depending on how large your application is. Hit enter, and let's just see what happens. You can see the build folder already appeared. Now multiple folders and files are going to appear. Just a couple of seconds. And yeah, there we go. It's done. Now let's take a look in our static. In our static, we will find our CSS, main CSS. This is actually your CSS file. You will also find your JS file, main JS file, and your media file. Again, you will have one index. This is going to be the index file, that is the HTML file that was created, and this hooks up to all of these. So this is how you create your build. Now next, let's take a look at how you could publish a application like this, or make it actually work. Because right now you can just hit save here. It looks much familiar. You could just say, well, how about we just right click, open with live server? Well, nothing will happen. You will see here as the title is workout app, but it's not working, as you can see here. So let me show you how this actually works. In order to make an application work, we need to take an action that is called deployment. Now deploying an app needs a server, and I'm not going to deploy to any kind of hosting service, because you would need to subscribe to something. I don't want to do that. We are going to simulate a server on our machine. It's exactly the same thing. In order to create a server, you need Node.js. Well, we do have Node.js installed, don't we? If you type in npm, node-v, you will see we have Node installed. Perfect. This means that we can create a server. In order to create a server, go into your working application, so workout app, and just create here a file, and we're going to call it server.js. So this is just a naming convention, okay? You can call it anything. You can call it grandma.js. Hit save, and within here, we're going to create a little server using Express and Node.js. So first things first, we're going to create a const for the path. The path will be then required. So we're going to use the required function on it. So require, and we should require then the path. Next, we're going to use express. So const app is going to use express, which is a function. And now we can use on our app, we're going to use express.static because we're using a static site. And now we can use from the path .join / _/ directory name, comma, the build. And we are missing here, there's too many underscores. And let's close this up. Next, from the app, we're going to get / then function. There's a callback function, going to use a request and response. And the request then will be send file to path.join, again, / their name, directory name, then the build, and the index. We're going to look for the index.html file. Okay, and now we're going to app.listen on the port 9000. And actually this should be 2 times underscore, not slash. What am I doing here? Boom and boom. And there we go. We have 1 parenthesis too many here because we don't need you and we don't need you. So how can we access this? Well, we are listening to this on the path 9000. Now we need to start our Node server. In order to run this script, which is going to create this server, express. Oh, sorry about that. So before the path, we also need to load express. So const express is equal to require, and we're requiring express. Okay, and now let's try this again. So node server, and oh, I created it outside the folder. Oh, Jesus. Okay, sorry about that. So move it inside the folder, as I said. Now node server, hit enter. So this is going to take a couple of seconds, and then here should the application should load. And there we go. Look at that. Click on home, click on workout plan, go to home, set this to easy, medium, hard, get started, choose the day, add a workout plan, running, swimming, delete it, add another one, add multiple, check the time, 20 minutes of swimming. You want to start at 10 a.m. No, let's delete it, and so far and so on. And there's nothing in here at our user. Okay, everyone, so hope you enjoyed this crash course. Hope you enjoyed the project. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, share it with others. Also, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. I'm posting new videos like this on a regular basis. As you can see, content keeps getting better and better. So once again, thank you for watching. If you have any kind of questions or suggestions, please leave it in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And with this being said, catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.